Hey again, everybody. Okay, this is part two of the of this series on 13th, and my hair is getting very long. Are you guys getting weirded out by watching yourselves all the time on Zoom now that we're online teaching? I've never watched myself so much in all my life. It's really weird. Anyway, okay, back to the discussion at hand. I think that sorry, that last one cut off. I don't know why the application just stopped working. I think I was in the middle of talking about how difficult it can be to speak about racism with each other when we are really highly conscious or when we're even unconscious um, about how we might be inadvertently, unintentionally saying something that feels offensive. And um, I think that this is a good thing to feel. And we want to be self conscious in those ways, but we also don't want to. The thing is, I consider the choice not to talk about racism just because it feels uncomfortable. I feel like that is a total choice of privilege. And by privilege, I mean whiteness. Um, it's just like, you know, being unwilling to talk about sexism just because you don't have to, right? But I can tell you that the women I know sure do talk about it. And we experience it in all kinds of ways, even in cultures like academia, where it's supposed to be too progressive and above that, right? So the choice to say, oh, this isn't really a big issue, or we're not really. I don't see any racism, or I don't want to talk about this because it's just so uncomfortable, and I don't want to piss somebody off. Like, again, you might be saying that with, again, the best of intentions. Maybe you don't want to upset people, um, but saying that is really an abdication of responsibility, and it's only something that you can say if you are somehow unaffected. Well, all of us, like I said, are affected. We are all affected by racism and discrimination of all kinds. Um, but if you don't feel that as acutely as somebody who is being subject explicitly to racist or discriminatory treatment, you might think that you're in fact immune or unaffected, and that you can afford to say, I don't want to talk about it because it makes me uncomfortable and I don't want to make anybody else uncomfortable. Again, that is in and of itself a racist position, even if you don't think of it so, right? And it took me a while to recognize that myself. Um, Likewise, I want to say a couple words here about people of color, the people of color in our community here. Um, of course, it is never a person of color's responsibility to speak for people of color, right? Every experience is individual, is unique, is yours, and at the same time, recognizing the collective impact and the collective experience of racism is really important, so that we all understand again that this is an ecological issue. This is something that renders an entire ecology, an entire culture, an entire society and community poisoned. Um, and so it's really important for all of us to create a safe enough space for people of color to share your experiences. And that does not mean that you have a responsibility to enlighten or educate white people, because you don't. But what it does mean, again, is that I think it is all of our responsibility to create as safe a space for you to share whatever you feel you want to share. And part of creating that space is committing to the discomfort, committing to becoming more and more comfortable with the discomfort of really difficult discussions like this, committing to become aware of our own blind spots without feeling somehow threatened. All of us included in that, people of color included. You have blind spots too. We all have blind spots. And a willingness for us all to be vulnerable with the understanding that for some people, that vulnerability feels far more dangerous than it does for others. And so the choice to remain silent, the choice not to speak, is a differently weighted choice for different people. The choice to remain silent as a white person is a very different decision than the choice to remain silent as a Black person in a discussion about institutionalized racism, particularly when you have so much violence perpetrated upon members of our communities of color in the ways that 13th makes clear, right? It can feel very unsafe to simply speak your truth. And so, again, it is all of our responsibility to participate in this discussion, be willing to risk discomfort to the degree that that feels safe to do so, and to treat each other and ourselves with utmost respect and responsibility. Okay. So I hope you will show up tomorrow to your Zoom conversations with courage and kindness. So 13th, this remarkable, just remarkable film by Ava DuVernay. She is such a courageous filmmaker. She's also the director of the Central Park Five. I think that's what it's called, but it's another astonishing documentary series on the Central Park Five. And then she also is the director, along with Oprah, of A Wrinkle in Time, which was just a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. So those are what I know she's directed. I'm sure she's probably directed more. But the 13th is an incredibly important film. And the easy thing to do, I think, in discussing this film is to leap right into what we think about it. What do we think about this? What are things that we can go do? How can we analyze the dramatic strategy and the format of the film? I don't want to have any of those conversations to start. For us to make change, real change as a society, that never happens at the level of intellect alone. We are not, as human beings, moved to make real change. That means to put ourselves on the line, to risk being uncomfortable, to give up power in ways we've understood it, or to seek power in ways we've never had. We are not willing to do that difficult work unless we are moved by our feeling. Human beings only ever do anything of kind of like, big, unless let me put it a different way. Everything we do as human beings, we do because of the way we think it's going to make us feel, or because of the way it does feel, right? And in order to make substantial change, in order to really step out of our comfort zone and say things need to change, we have to feel it. We can't just think it. But so often we amputate our discussions about race and racism, especially in educational forums, because we have not learned as teachers and students how to welcome emotion into pedagogy, how to welcome emotion into the classroom. So we don't know how to inhabit our emotions as teachers often, and therefore we don't know how to give our students permission to inhabit theirs in the classroom. But if we can't demonstrate our own emotional responses, inhabit those with more or less ease, and invite that from our students,